It's July 1983, and Ronald Rewald is bleeding out in his hotel room at the Waikiki Sheraton in Hawaii. He slashed his wrists. He leaves a note saying, "I never did anything to hurt anyone, but this seems like a lie. A Ponzi scheme does nothing but hurt other people, and Ronald's taken $22 million and turned it into nothing." Ronald is discovered and survives. The investigation he knew was coming and caused him such distress proceeds. Eventually, charges are brought. The case seems extremely straightforward. It's a classic Ponzi. Then, Ronald addresses the state's claims. Things get very complicated very fast. He begins his sworn affidavit to the U.S. Bankruptcy Court by stating, "I am, and for the past 5 years have been, an agent for the Central Intelligence Agency." Some additional information on the Ponzi scheme piece. It really is cookie-cutter perfect. Ronald lived a lavish lifestyle to project wealth and success, named his firm Bishop Baldwin, Rewald, Dillingham, and Wong after famously powerful Hawaiian families who had nothing to do with the firm, and guaranteed incredible returns. Money came to him from across the island, especially the wealthy social circles he traveled in. Then, rather than investing the funds in anything, he seemingly just spent it. Seemingly. There's going to be a lot of that word. Ronald said that the money wasn't even gone. It was just in accounts that he couldn't access anymore. He couldn't prove any of that, but surprisingly, he could prove a lot. First, he had actual receipts. The CIA had paid for some basic office expenses for Bishop Baldwin. Second, he had audio recording of Honolulu CIA station chief discussing with him his ability to thwart an IRS investigation into the firm, and discussing gathering information for a potential covert arms deal with India. Third, it was widely known that Ronald had ties to the CIA. The former CIA station chief actually retired to work at Bishop Baldwin, and loads of CIA employees on the island had their money in the firm. The government was caught, and they admitted that Bishop Baldwin was more than just a criminal operation. At a minimum, the relationship between the agency and the firm involved the following: sending people overseas, posing as advisors for Bishop Baldwin to investigate economies and industry in countries like China, Japan, Argentina, and Germany, using the firm's phone and addresses as intervening links for communication between field agents and their handlers, forcing Ronald to sign a secrecy pledge, and intervening when the IRS wanted to investigate to buy the CIA time to scrub its assets from the company's records. Ronald made additional claims that were not accepted by the government, and his ability to prove them were hamstrung by the CIA's claims to secrecy. His affidavit was sealed by the judge. He could not detail his ties to the CIA. He could only present evidence that would prove that the agency had been directly operating the fund, which he was unable to do successfully. Outside of the courtroom, an even bigger controversy erupted. ABC News launched a special report on the trial, which included the sworn statement of a Honolulu prison guard who said the CIA tried to hire him to assassinate Ronald while he was initially jailed. And, oh, by the way, Ronald was stuck in jail for a while because initially his bail had been set at an insane $10 million. This became a whole separate side story as the CIA and ABC engaged in a battle over the First Amendment. And if you're starting to get Epstein vibes from this story, that's because it's sort of the same. But it's important to note here that the Honolulu prison guard had previously approached ABC with a different story about CIA assassinations in Laos, so maybe he just wanted to get on TV. From the information that is available, we're left with two stories. Ronald Rewald, a failed businessman and minor criminal from Wisconsin, arrives in Hawaii and is able to sweet-talk his way into $22 million, some of it from members of the intelligence community, while running one of the most blatant Ponzi's you could imagine. Then the CIA, needing a front for some minor operations, approaches him to run money through the organization, never realizing that they'd picked the worst possible cover. Or Ronald Rewald, a former CIA operative who reported on protest groups in college, is put in touch with Honolulu agents by his old contact. They advise him to start a fund using the name that would give it instant prestige and fund his lavish lifestyle, which will help him recruit billionaires from China and the Middle East. A former CIA station chief is brought in to run the operation under the guise of private sector employment. Members from the intelligence community put their money in because, as far as they know, it's guaranteed by the government. And then something goes wrong. That's the problem here. The story that seems more likely is missing a key piece. The jury finds Rewald guilty and he's sentenced to 80 years in prison. He's released after fewer than 10. As Ronald lay dying in his hotel room, or so he thought, his note continued, "Someday I pray the truth will be known. I started out working for our country and was abandoned when others feared for their jobs. It never dawned on me that I would be left alone and unprotected." To date, his prayer has not been answered. Thanks for watching, guys.